most memorable occasion because Gene Paul Norris was recognized as the Southwest all-time worst bad man. I believe he is credited, at least through underworld sources, with a great many killings, mostly gang killings, murders.
Well, you're credited with his killing, aren't you, Captain?
Well, I don't know whether you'd say credited with it or not. There were several other officers with me. Let's say that I was present when that gunfight occurred.
Have you ever been shot yourself, Captain?
Yes, sir. One time I was shot in the right arm by an armed robber that apprehended at Louisville in Benton County. This robber had hijacked Goldstein's jewelry store in Fort Worth and stopped him in Louisville. He came out shooting.
Now, you displayed a gun a few minutes ago. I understand it was your own gun. Did you ever have any mishap with that gun, the one you had out here?
That is the gun that I was shot with that I was showing you a while ago. This armed robber was, in fact, he was firing with two guns. That was one of the guns he was using. It was the one that I got shot with, so I kept that as a souvenir.
Where is he now?
He's dead.
The biggest problem facing Israel is not unlike the biggest problem facing the rest of the world, except in intensity. It's a problem of peace with justice. Israel is surrounded by hostile neighbors who have claimed an illegal kind of belligerency against her. As long as this persists, there's much damage done to them and to her in her ability to grow economically and otherwise. So if I were asked to summarize what ought to be done, the answer is we ought to get peace in the world and we ought to get some of it for the Middle East.
Now, there has been at least a minor wave of anti-Semitism in this nation as well as throughout the world. How do American Jews feel about that?
It's a very difficult thing for any one person to speak for American Jews. American Jews feel as differently about things as do other people. I can only speak for myself and some of the thinking we've done on the subject. This wave to which reference has been made, which started on the eve of the Cologne synagogue smearing in West Germany, was pretty general in the Western world. Involved some 1,200 incidents. We've not been able to find that this was actually an anti-Semitic conspiracy or a communist conspiracy. My own feeling, after being in Germany in recent weeks and analyzing all of the evidence, is that this is but a good warning to the free world that maybe we've been letting our guard down on the question of human rights. I think Jews have no more to fear with respect to what has happened than the rest of the world has to fear. The rest of the world had better realize that this is in the nature of a warning. We'd better strengthen our human rights activities, and we'd better come to an understanding that we may have made a mistake in walking away from the Nuremberg trial concept, which we'd introduced into the United Nations and then dropped some 10 years ago.
Mrs. Sessoms, how long were you in Cuba?
I arrived in about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and left about the same time Sunday afternoon.
You arrived Friday, was it?
Friday, yes.
And left Sunday.
And left Sunday.
You were there during the time of the explosion and the ship in the harbor. Do they still blame Americans for that? Do the average Cuban people blame Americans?
Well, at that time, no one was blaming anyone because they were sorry for the thing that had happened. No one seemed to think anything of that nature.
How much anti-American sentiment did you find there?
I didn't find any.
That is, what about Mr. Castro's anti-American speeches?
Well, I think that if our government, if our people here in the United States, our government in the United States, had a different attitude towards him and listened a little bit better, that we now would not find ourselves in the situation they were in with Castro. They are not communists now, but as far as my idea is concerned, they may be driven to that point because they need help so badly.
The premier shot 500 people after he came into office, and he hasn't had free elections yet. Do you consider this an honest government?
Well, he hasn't had time, I should think, to have managed all of those things. Now, you must take into consideration that I do not condone killing of any sort, but you must take into consideration that the Latin person in the first place and the situation that they were in the next place. I know how people feel about that thing, but that isn't the important thing, picking out these things that he did. Why not pick out the good things that he has done and not keep before the public the things that we do not understand and see that he has done?
You mean